Now, did China censor an Indian diplomat at the United Nations? Did China muzzle criticism from India at the UN? I'll tell you why I asked this. Last week, China hosted a UN summit, a summit on sustainable transport. The perfect platform, you could say, to expose the true face of the Belt and Road Initiative. And that's exactly what an Indian diplomat did. She came down hard on China's Belt and Road Initiative. She said BRI violates India's territorial integrity. She showed how the project does not follow international rules. But just when she started speaking, guess what happened? Her mic went off. Interesting coincidence, wouldn't you say? You criticize China and your mic shuts down.
Its inclusion of the so-called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor as a flagship project impinges on India's sovereignty. No country can support an initiative that ignores its core concerns on sovereignty and territorial integrity. This aside, there are also larger issues regarding how connectivity initiatives should be pursued. We are of the firm belief that connectivity initiatives must be based on universally recognized international norms. They must follow principles of openness, transparency, and financial responsibility, and be pursued.
Was the Indian diplomat censored? What do you think? The organizers say it was a technical glitch. The Indian diplomat persisted, she waited for the mic to be fixed, and she did finish her speech eventually. But technical glitch or not, it suited Beijing for that mic to be off. You see, China is getting a lot of bad press on BRI. China's infrastructure sector is imploding. Chinese real estate is in a huge mess. 1 month ago, we told you about Evergrande. We've been reporting on it since. One of the biggest real estate companies in China. It is now the most indebted property developer in the world. It owes more than $300 billion, $300 billion, and it doesn't have the money to pay back its debt. This crisis is massive, but it could have been managed had it been limited to Evergrande. The problem is it's not. With each passing day, the crisis in China is getting bigger. It's not just Evergrande that's out of cash now. There are at least five real estate companies in China that are out of money. As a sector, Chinese real estate developers owe a whopping $5 trillion. That's right. The debt pile is not just $300 billion, it's $5 trillion. Tonight we'll tell you how China's debt virus is spreading. But first, let's tell you what's happening in Evergrande. It has suffered another major setback today. It lost a deal worth $2.6 billion. Now, this was a fire sale. Evergrande was selling a part of its business to a rival, but the deal fell through at the very last minute. Like they say, when it rains, it pours. Nothing is working out for Evergrande. It struck a deal to sell its Hong Kong headquarters for $1.7 billion. That too fell through. The list of defaults is getting longer. So far, Evergrande has missed 5 payments to international bondholders. These are basically the international investors who lent money to Evergrande. How much money? $275 million. There's a good chance they won't get this money back because China's real estate sector is now increasingly looking like a black hole. You put money, it doesn't come back. Investors poured money when there was a boom. They don't know when they'll get their money back, if they'll get it at all. Evergrande's total liabilities are more than $300 billion. Out of this, $20 billion is owed to international investors. Fantasia is the second big defaulter. It failed to make a debt payment of $315 million. China Properties Group, it has defaulted on $226 million worth of bond payments. Modern Land, another major company, wanted extra time to pay $250 million back. And Cynic Holdings owes the same amount. It has already failed to make some payments. Now, we've been saying this from the very beginning. The world will feel the impact of a collapse in China's real estate sector. Global investors are bracing for the crisis to hit them. Asian markets are already feeling the heat. Here's a report that came out earlier this month. It paints an alarming picture. There was a wave of selling in Asian markets this month. Investors dumped Chinese bonds. Why? Because they are now considered to be risky investments. There is a high risk of default in 24 out of 59 Chinese development companies. And Asia could just be the beginning. This is going to spread wider. Construction and real estate used to be the pride of China. Remember how China boasted about building a hospital within weeks to treat Wuhan virus patients. That was propaganda, but Chinese builders have broken construction records. What they also did in the process is amass a giant pile of debt. $5 trillion worth of debt, that's the size the Indian economy hopes to grow to in the next few years. $5 trillion is the debt of China's real estate sector. $28 billion is due just next year. Will they default again? You've not heard the last of the story. We'll be tracking. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.